Hey, what's going on guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Bundesliga career mode. This is episode number 73, and we start today's episode off with a game against Mainz here, away from home, back in the Bundesliga, coming on the back of our 1-1 draw against Basel in the Champions League in the last game in the last episode. Now taking on Mainz, but before we get into today's episode guys, I do want to say there was no video yesterday. I do apologise for that, and uploads right now seem to be a little bit sparse for you guys. Reason being is pretty simple. I don't want to go into details too much, but there's something else going on in my life right now which, basically requires a lot more attention than YouTube does. I do apologise regardless, as I do pride myself on consistency and reliability and just trying to do as much as possible, but simply put, I know when something needs to take more of my time, and right now I have something which is a little bit more important, let's just say that. But either way, I do apologise, but hopefully uploads will return to a normal rate in the very near future. But if they continue to be a little bit sparse and a little bit sporadic, then please do accept I got something else going on right now which requires a lot more attention. But still, for the first game of today's episode, as you can see, taking on Mainz here away from home, back in the Bundesliga, coming on the back of that 1-1 draw against Basel, like I said just a moment ago. Right now, at the start of the season off, I've been pretty disappointed with our beginning. We spent £79 million on new players for this new season, one being Marco Reus, who did score his second goal for the club and the first goal of this game. But either way, the start we've had has been quite disappointing. We're looking a little bit shaky, and even though, as you can see, we won this game by 1-0, we still didn't play particularly well. And for a side that has spent so much money ever since I took over, I'm not going to say that we have to win every single game 4 or 5-0, but we rarely ever look capable of winning those games 4 or 5-0. But we did win the game. We won it by 1-0. Marco Reus scoring his second of the season, and that's good to see him notch up once again in a Hamburg shirt. But again, I'm just a little bit worried because we know that Bayern Munich can be so dominant, and because of the way they've started the season off, it's going to be hard work for us to catch up to them, even right now. So I'm just a little bit fearful that if we don't win games convincingly and we start to struggle a little bit mid-season, whilst Bayern Munich is still, constantly winning games, we could find ourselves, seeing the gap get a little bit too wide, just like in Season 2, and we won't be able to catch up. So I want us to start winning, a bit more convincingly, not just get the 3 points, but also score quite a few goals as well, improve our goal difference and look a stronger side. But still, following that, we had 2 international friendlies with Brazil. The Copa America should be at the end of the season, so looking forward to another national tournament with Brazil. I don't know why, it's just whenever I do international management in my careers, I just really like the international tournaments coming to the end of the season. It sort of breaks up the regular stuff, and it also gives us just time to think about transfer targets and whatnot, and also it's a nice little side story for me. But still, for our second game of today's episode here, second of 5 in today's episode, we take on Augsburg here at the Volkspark Stadion, still in the Bundesliga, and this game finished as a very disappointing goalless draw. Now, there were a couple more highlights to show you, but those were the 2 main ones, and I feel now that whenever we have a goalless draw, because they seem to be so common, what I might do is just show you like 1 or 2 highlights at the very most, and then just skip through to the next game, because they're very, very dull, very uneventful, and when the end result is a goalless draw, it's like, it just feels like such a waste of 90 minutes playtime. So yeah, I feel as though now I might just show you 1 or 2 highlights and leave it there, really, because I don't know whether you guys are the same. I tweeted about it a few days ago. I seem to have so many draws in my careers. In fact, I talked about it a couple episodes ago as well. I seem to have so many draws in my career modes this year. It's just so frustrating, and so many are goalless draws as well, and it just makes for such a boring kind of experience, really. It's very disappointing. So instead of just focusing, like a 3 or 4 minutes on a game, if it ends as a 0-0 draw, I might just show you 1 or 2 highlights and just leave it there, because I feel as though focusing on games which are more important, could be a little bit better, and focusing on games which are a lot more action-packed as well could be way more fun for you guys to watch. But still, for our third of 5 games in today's episode, we return to the Champions League and take on Sevilla, and this game was looking like it would end up being just like the Augsburg game. Very, very poor, very, very disappointing. It was still 0-0 in this game going into the break. We had looked the stronger side, but in the second half, Sevilla did have 1 chance there. Cesar Valente making a good save down to his right-hand side, and then our third first chance of the second half fell here just before the hour mark. Dennis Diekmeyer trying his luck from range, but Sergio Rico was equal to it. So it was still goalless in this game, and there were 10 minutes to go. One of the final chances fell here to Sevilla. Vitolo got on the ball, played it through towards Ava Banega. Lovely build up there, but Kevin Volland was denied by a great save by Valente, and so was Krychowiak. An unbelievable double save in quick succession from Cesar Valente, and then he saved the third shot as well. And the game did finish as a goalless draw, just like the last game against Augsburg. So 0-0. And again, when these games finish goalless, I think I might just decide from now on just to put like one or two highlights in at the very most, because, you know, I wouldn't want to give anything away, you know, before the game is over, so you guys could tell when a game's going to finish 0-0. But I just feel as though those games, they're just not that fun to play, and even when there are quite a few chances, because there's just never any goals to show, and particularly for you guys to watch, knowing that, you know, so many of my games finish as draws, the goalless ones in particular must be extremely tedious to watch. So I need to do something to make sure that we can sort of speed through the season when those games sort of occur, because there's not much point spending like 3 or 4 minutes in an episode on one. But still, that was the third game of today's episode. Now we move into the fourth one against Red Bull Leipzig here, back in the Bundesliga. And as you can see here, Red Bull Leipzig, a newly promoted side, back to the Bundesliga. They were in Season 2 after their promotion in Season 1. Then they got relegated in that first season in Season 2. Then in Season 3, bouncing right back into the Bundesliga here, so back in Germany's Premier Division. But still, to take on Red Bull Leipzig here, the first chance fell to us, but Maximilian Meyer, who has had a really good start to the season, well, let's just say his teammates weren't too fond of him in that highlight. First blocking Marco Reus's shot after a lovely solo run by left midfielder, and then hitting the post from a tight angle. But even though the goal was gaping, you still expect him to score. But sadly for Red Bull Leipzig, we would take the lead on the stroke of half time. Once again, this was another game which wasn't looking too action-packed, but after we took the lead, I was thinking, thank God for that, and hopefully we'll start to get more chances in the second half as well to try and kick on and score more goals. It was a really nice goal as well from Sane to Gerhardt down the right-hand side. The first touch by Yannick was really good to set himself, go down the right flank, and when he drilled across into the centre, it was so accurate, really, really well timed as well. And Angel Correa, he's been quite frustrated of late, you know, not getting as many chances, being a little bit isolated at the top, but once he was played that ball, he simply could not miss. He rifled the ball into the roof of the net with so much shot power, but thankfully he did find the back of the net at least, and it was 1-0 to Hamburg. So 1-0 to the away side. In the second half, Correa did a ball in the back of the net for a second time in the game. He was about to celebrate his second goal of the game, but as you can see, he was flagged for offside, and the goal was disallowed. But I must admit, looking at it on the replay, I thought he was onside. I really did. Maybe I need to get a Specsavers, but the line just seemed to be so close, and when I looked at it on a freeze frame, it looked as though he was being played just on, but maybe not. I mean, we've had experience with this before. Sometimes it looks as though the linesman's got it wrong when in fact he has got it right. So we'll just say it was a good decision, but in the end, it wasn't going to matter. We made it 2-0 here with 11 minutes to go. Sane went down the right-hand side here, got a hockey assist for the first goal and a real assist for the second goal. Nice little through ball towards Altintaz, who came off the bench, and he scores his first goal of the season and makes it 2-0 to the away side. So final score, Red Bull Leipzig 0, Hamburg 2. Good to get another win notched up for us. It wasn't the most convincing wins once again. We did deserve the 3 points, that's for sure. We had 7 shots and 7 on target, and Red Bull Leipzig didn't play too badly. They had a couple of chances themselves, but they weren't too threatening. And I guess the real, you know, the best way of describing that game was that we were clinical, and that's why we were able to win that game. And I say clinical when we only scored 2 of our 7 shots, but what I'm trying to say is that every single shot was on target, and when we created those chances, we looked like we were going to score. And again, could have had a third one had it not been disallowed for offside. But still, for the 5th and final game of today's episode here, we take on Wolfsburg away from home. Now, after ending the 2-game draw streak, now taking on Wolfsburg away in the Deutsche Pokal. We're of course the holders of this competition. We won it last year for the first ever time. In the first 2 seasons, we got knocked out in the first round, so then to go on to win it was a pretty remarkable turnaround. But either way, coming to this game, despite being the holders, I still did decide to rest 11 players and field a completely weakened side for the game. Reason being is quite simple. We're in the Bundesliga, the Champions League, and this competition as well. And just like I said last year and the years before that too, this is our least of priorities. It's not really a competition we care too much about, even though we are the holders. The board do want us to reach the quarterfinals this stages though, so we would like to give it a bit of a good effort and try and get there. But during Wolfsburg away, they're a really good side. I was expecting to lose this game, but instead, 5 minutes after the restart, we would open the scoring through Timo Werner, who rarely plays in the first 11 because Correa is just that good. And I could play him down the left-hand side. We've got other options to play there instead, like Luan and Marco Torres Gomez as well. But still, he made it 1-0. He's a very good backup striker for us, Timo Werner. Never want to see him get sold. And it was 1-0 to Hamburg. We had a lot of chances in this game to make it 2-0, but just didn't convert them, which allowed Wolfsburg a late chance to possibly go ahead and send the game to extra time. But how about that for a save from Tom Mikel to make sure we won the game? What a stop by our backup goalkeeper, who's been asking for a new contract and requesting to leave the club as well for the past 2 years now, really. But I showed you in the last season against, I think it was Hertha Berlin in the cup, he can pull out some fantastic saves down the stretch, and he did the same here against Wolfsburg. An unbelievable save at the near post to help us win the game by a goal to nil. And we progress to the next round of the Deutsche Pokal. So delighted with that. It wasn't the most convincing wins, but we got the win regardless. Another clean sheet for us as well, just ridiculous. But as you can see, we progress into the next round, into the round of 16, and I'm pretty pleased that we have still a slight chance of retaining this trophy, even though once again we'll be fielding a weakened side for every single game. But that is going to be today's episode of the Bundesliga Career Mode, guys. So a big thank you for watching the video. I really hope you have enjoyed it. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please leave a like. Like's much appreciated and really help the channel grow as well. Much love to you all, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode in my Bundesliga career mode very soon.